three-letter agencies are wholly corrupt, completely corrupt, whether it's the CIA, the FBI, the CDC, the NIH, the FDA. We can go down the list. And I think when you get a guy like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. coming into the fold, you bring in a lot of people with it. RFK Jr. has a lot of fans on both sides of the aisle. He's definitely going to help the suburban female vote. You know, there's a lot of suburban moms out there that wonder what's going on with these vaccine schedules. Why are there so many more now than there were in the 80s when we were growing up ourselves? I talk to moms and dads all the time, whether it's on the t-ball field or the soccer field or in school. We're having these conversations. Robert F. Kennedy is unafraid to have these conversations, completely unafraid. And that's something I respect about him greatly. He's lost family and friends over having these conversations, but he continues because it's what's right. Now, it's not just on the conservative side of the aisle that people appreciate that out of Robert F. Kennedy. You're also getting the crunchy organic hippies that are raising kids out there that agree with a lot of this stuff. My wife's cousins, very far left, I believe they're in Portland, and we love them. They're sweet. But I tell you what, if there's a topic that we can agree on, it's the medical industrial complex. 10 out of 10 times, everybody looks at the medical industrial complex and says there's something wrong there. There's something wrong. And it's a conversation America needs to have, and we now have somebody in the big tent that's unafraid to have it. And what this means in swing states is really, really fascinating. I mean, if RFK is getting 5 to 6% of the vote, and that 5 to 6% goes for Trump, are you kidding me? That's massive, absolutely massive. And then, you know, you zoom out a little bit and you think about what this means for America. We have a unity party, not a uniparty, a unity party. And some of the silence out there was deafening from a lot of the old guard neocons and the old guard leftists. Nobody really wants to talk about it too much because they understand what this is. What we have is a consolidation of idealists, right? And that's better than division. And if we have on one side of the aisle the cat ladies forming to become a supergroup, well, then it makes sense to form a supergroup to counter it, does it not? And RFK dropping out, endorsing the Orange Man, and lighting his father's political party on fire with his speech caused me to have 100 times more respect for him. Seriously. I mean, you look at somebody like RFK who really did a good job in his run, despite the fact that the media didn't want to give him a chance, despite the fact that he was demonized up and down by just about every mainstream media organization. And he doesn't do what Bernie did in 2016. I mean, I remember Bernie Sanders in 2016, and this is not what that was, but you remember Bernie. He was trying to sell revolution. He was against big everything. And then he showed up at the 2016 DNC and kissed Hillary's butt on live TV and then slithered away into the bleachers. That is not this. 2016 was a turning point for the Democrats. The entire party went completely off the rails. And what's happening right now with Kamala Harris is the fakest and most insane political theater we've seen yet. It has gotten so wild that 4 years of Trump now looks tame compared to the Democrat Party. And RFK was born and raised in that party from birth. His dad and his uncle were assassinated representing that party. And RFK took a match and some gasoline on Friday afternoon, and he lit all of that history, all of that lineage on fire for the entire world to see. And it was something to watch. It was something to behold. And now where we go next could be something really special. A team of rivals, you know, a la Lincoln. We could have Elon, who Elon has to go save NASA right now. You know, we have astronauts stuck in space, and they're begging Elon to help them out. So you could have Elon, Vivek, Tulsi Gabbard's name's been thrown around, RFK Jr., J.D. Vance. The actual openness and dialogue that can be created from that exchange of ideas should not be understated. It shouldn't. There are many things I disagree with from RFK Jr. and from Tulsi Gabbard and probably Vivek and Elon too. But getting smart people in a room to talk about big ideas and how to implement them is a net positive for the country. No matter how you slice it, that's a net positive. On the flip side, the Democrats have their talking points printed out for them, and they have to fall in line with party leadership no matter what. RFK said, listen, me and Trump would disagree on a lot of things, but we agree on some core issues, and we're still going to criticize each other publicly. And I respect that, man. I really do. By all means, let us know where you disagree. And let the conversation then move to the people. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And RFK Jr. on Friday, while dropping out, again, he took a match and he lit the entire history and lineage of the Democrat Party on fire. And he explained to people why he entered the race, why he left the Democrat Party, and why he now supports President Trump.
3 great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent. And now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children. We were the party of labor, of the working class. The Democrats were the party of government transparency and the champion of the environment. Our party was the bulwark against big money interests and corporate power. True to its name, it was the party of democracy. As you know, I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money.
And big corruption, without a doubt. Big corruption. That's what the Democrats are now. And you have many Democrats jumping out to say, oh, can you believe he did this? David Axelrod posted on Twitter that his father, Bobby Kennedy, would be appalled after the Trump endorsement. Appalled. He literally said this. Robert F. Kennedy was my political hero. He battled fiercely and eloquently against poverty, injustice, and for economic fairness. Sadly, RFK Jr., who made a rambling exit from the race today, proves that sometimes an apple does fall far from the tree. In this case, down a hill, and Robert F. Kennedy Sr. would have been appalled to see his son cut a deal to drop out of the race and endorse Trump. I completely disagree. In fact, I think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s dad would be appalled to see the current state of the Democrat Party. Pro-war, pro-censorship, pro-open borders. It's a travesty what that party's become. To say his father would be appalled. It's just such a joke. In fact, I think that his father would be nothing but proud of him. Absolutely proud of him. Because he didn't compromise his core ideals. He said he got into the race for 3 reasons: free speech, the war on our children, and stopping endless wars. Okay. Which party is going to help you accomplish those goals? Clearly, it's Donald Trump and the conservatives. It is no longer the Democrats that are for that kind of stuff. And to his credit, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., wanting to not compromise on those ideals, offered the same conversation to both parties. And I was a little critical of him at first for that. But after hearing him saying, I'm not bending on my big issues, he gave Kamala the chance to welcome him in. She didn't even take the phone call. That's the new Democrat Party. That's the party that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be appalled to see. Absolutely appalled. So we have a unity party, not a uniparty. And on the left, we get no substance from Harris, just fake, manufactured media love. And Robert F. Kennedy said as much when he dropped out.
Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate?
Yeah, and I believe the actual final tally of how many times they mentioned Trump at the DNC last week was 401. So they were mentioning, on average, Trump over 100 times a day. But no policy, no ideas, no ways to move forward. In fact, they tried to really make you forget that they've been in power for the last 3.5 years. They definitely didn't want you to remember that they staged a coup to get Joe Biden in there in the name of saving. They staged a coup to get Joe Biden out of there to get Kamala in the name of saving democracy.
In the name of saving democracy, the Democratic Party set itself to dismantling it, lacking confidence in its candidate, that its candidate could win in a fair election at the voting booth. The DNC waged continual legal warfare against both President Trump and myself.
Yeah, nonstop legal warfare. Lawfare. It's one of their new tools. And I'm of the opinion that had they had a real primary process with the DNC, had they had real debates, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would have beat Joe Biden. And if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the Democrat nominee, we have a totally different fight on our hands than we do with Kamala Harris. 100%. But they couldn't get over themselves. That they have to choose the candidate. It's disaster for the Democrats. And I think that this RFK endorsement is going to be massive. And again, we'll disagree with RFK on quite a few issues, but we're aligned on the big ones.
I was a ferocious critic of many of the policies during his first administration, and there are still issues and approaches upon which we continue to have very serious differences. But we are aligned with each other on other key issues, like ending the forever wars, ending the childhood disease epidemics, securing the border, protecting freedom of speech, unraveling the corporate capture of our regulatory agencies, getting the U.S. intelligence agencies out of the business of propagandizing and censoring and surveilling Americans and interfering with our elections.
And if we can aim RFK in that direction, I can't wait to see the damage that he can get done, honestly. But the epidemic of childhood disease, the crap that is in our food that we feed our kids on a near daily basis is something I really want him to tackle. And he runs through the chronic disease in this country. He talks about the chronic disease that is affecting our kids. And I'll play you his comments from his dropout speech. And then we're going to talk with Bernadette Pajer. She's the director for Tennessee Stand for Health Freedom. And she's going to go even more in depth on just the absolute garbage that is being given to our kids, be it seed oils or food dyes. One of the best things that RFK could do is make this conversation mainstream, and he did just that. So on the way, we'll hear from RFK on that, and then at 9:35, Bernadette Pajer is going to be joining the show. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Nashville residents have a message for white supremacist groups coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 9:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, real quick, it's the third anniversary of what happened in Afghanistan at Abbey Gate, where 13 service members lost their lives due to the ineptitude of the Biden administration. Well, they're down at Arlington National Cemetery today honoring the 13 fallen soldiers who were killed in that botched Afghanistan withdrawal. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris nowhere to be found. President Trump showed up, though. President Trump showed up. Of course he did. Not much else to say. You take from that what you want. But of course he showed up. Robert F. Kennedy endorsed Donald Trump over the weekend. I was critical of RFK in the lead up to this. But when you sit back and you realize what this means, it's a big deal. One of the things that, Dad, I'm really looking forward to him looking at is the food industry, the ultra-processed garbage. I want him to look at the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and I think that he's a guy unafraid to do it. During his dropout speech, he did address the chronic disease in this country, especially when it comes to our kids.
About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the old. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering?
How did we get here? Well, you're not going to find out when the people getting paid by these big pharma industries are the ones writing the policy. You're just not. You're not even going to be able to ask the questions. RFK is going to stand in complete opposition to that, and I'm for it.
I'll name two culprits. The first and the worst is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils. Laboratory scientists who many of them formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out new chemicals to make the food more addictive. And these ingredients didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans aren't biologically adapted to eat them. Hundreds of these chemicals are now banned in Europe, but ubiquitous in American processed foods.
That's one of the things that really bugs me the most is that even some of the stuff that we make here in America and send to Canada, we make it here in America without these banned ingredients, and then we ship it out. But nobody seems to have a problem with it. Nobody seems to ask why. And nobody looks at our child obesity rates and says, we have to do something to fix this. I'm grateful that Robert F. Kennedy is standing there and saying something about it. And I think that he's smart enough to get something done. We're going to talk to Bernadette Pager from Tennessee's Stand for Health Freedom. She's the local director with those guys about what this really means and also the epidemic of childhood disease in this country. Next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
"9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Under an orange air quality alert, that means the heat and humidity could mix to make the air unhealthy for some groups, mainly those with breathing problems, and then active adults and children. All of those groups asked to limit prolonged exertion outdoors today due to the potential for exceeding unhealthy levels of ozone. Full forecast in 2 minutes. A rally Sunday in downtown Nashville. Dozens of people say hate groups aren't welcome here. It comes after several incidents of what is thought to be white supremacists marching through the streets recently. Attendees to yesterday's rally telling Channel 4 enough is enough.
I don't like that Nashville has become a place where people feel like hate is the default energy. And I get free speech and I get, the right that people don't want their rights taken away. But I think that you also have to come in and say there needs to be some sort of middle ground.
Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he's got 4 changes he'd like to see put in place. One of them is a law that would prevent these marchers from hiding their faces behind masks. Tension still high in the Middle East after Israel blew up launch sites in Lebanon just minutes before Hezbollah was planning to fire thousands of rockets into central Israel. Martha Raddatz tells us the U.S. keeping its presence in the region.
The U.S. military has had a very visible, very robust presence in the region with 2 carrier battle groups. That means aircraft carriers with supporting combat ships and fighter jets. And this morning, the Pentagon making clear those ships will stay in the region.
A couple of NASA astronauts who thought they were on a 9-day space flight will spend the next 6 months at the International Space Station because of problems with their Boeing Starliner's propulsion system. But don't worry. ABC's Jim Ryan tells us there's apparently plenty of food and water for the new arrivals to the space station.
NASA refuses to characterize Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore as stranded. Fellow astronaut Matt Dominic tells ABC News Radio that the ISS has plenty of food for the unexpected house guests. As for water,
we reprocess 96% of our water, so we're set.
NASA is concerned that the thruster rocket problems that showed up in the Boeing Starliner make using that vehicle too risky.
They'll hitch a ride back to Mother Earth next year on one of Elon Musk's SpaceX rockets. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. So you're trying to figure out what to do when it comes to investments and retirement planning. You know, a lot of people worry about this. Everybody seems to be saying different things, especially during an election year. Well, Paul Winkler, you've heard me talk about him for quite a while. This is something he talks about quite a bit. And think about it. If you work for a car company, it only makes sense that you'd say your car is the best. Most people are getting their financial advice from banks, insurance agents, people who sell investment products. Paul and his team all came from that side of the industry, so I'll let them tell you about it, but they can tell you really what goes on behind those closed doors. But you got to give them a call and set up a complimentary consultation. I think you'll learn more than you ever thought possible and get a clear picture of how they can help you. Call them today, 615-851-1950. You can even set up a 15-minute phone call real quick with one of his degreed advisors on his website, paulwinkler.com. And Paul wants to make sure that I'm totally honest and transparent with you. I get paid to do these commercials, but I don't get paid to be a client. I'm a client because I trust Paul and his team to do what's right by me and my family. You can trust them too. Hit the website, set up a phone call today, paulwinkler.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, californiaclosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, californiaclosets.com.
And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
That was RFK in Arizona shaking Donald Trump's hand on stage. Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be a big part of that. And joining us now on the line, friend of the show, Bernadette Pager. She's the Tennessee director for Stand for Health Freedom. And Bernadette, there's so much that I want to ask you. So just real quick, I want to talk about the ultra-processed foods. I want to talk about food dyes. I want to talk about the botched food pyramid. And I want to talk about what the RFK endorsement of Donald Trump means to you. And with that, I'm going to take the leash off and let you run.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for inviting me on the show today. I really appreciate it. I'm really very excited about where we are today, Chris. And if I could, I'd like to kind of start with back up a bit to, like, there's two historic events. You just kind of mentioned one of them, but let's go back to an interview about 9 days ago on the Tucker Carlson show. That's when Callie and Casey Means came on. Yeah, so you can go to Tucker Carlson's website and just look that up, Callie and Casey Means, How Big Pharma Keeps You Sick. Amazing interview. It encapsulated everything wrong with food and health in this nation today. It was so brilliant. And Tucker was giggling the whole time. He was so happy. It was wonderful. And then we get a 48-minute speech by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about why he is suspending his campaign and joining in something he's calling a unity party with former President Trump.
Yep.
And going to be endorsing Trump. And he mentioned then Callie Means. He said, Callie Means called me 2 hours after the attempted assassination on Trump and said that he had also been because Callie's been working with the Kennedy campaign. Mm-hmm. And he's also been working with the Trump campaign, educating Trump on these issues of health. And so this led to this amazing conversation over the phone and in person between Kennedy and Trump, finding out many areas of common ground, but especially this chronic health issue, the corporate capture of our oversight agencies, right?
Yep.
And it's like, if you had asked me, write out like a dream scenario, this might be it. It's like hard to believe that we're actually hearing this. And mainstream media was covering it, and they didn't mean to tell the world,
yeah.
but they did, about, the reasons for chronic health in this nation. And then you reached out to me, and I'm just so pleased to be able to talk about this and really what it means for this nation and on the individual level.
Well, and as a guy that's been paying attention, and you mentioned the Callie and Casey Means interview with Tucker Carlson, a bunch of my texters were mentioning that as well. But to have the conversation that's been happening online for many years go mainstream when it comes to seed oils and food coloring and natural flavors and pesticides, and what can be done about that is phenomenal.
Yes.
What is wrong with seed oils and food coloring and natural flavors and pesticides in our food?
All right. Well, what I did, I'm not an expert on these things. They're very much in my realm of advocacy. So I looked up stuff so I could make sure I pass off accurate information. I have a couple of favorite sites that I recommend your listeners go to. Besides Callie and Casey's book, How Big Pharma Keeps You Sick. Oh, wait, that's not the name of their book. The name of their book is The Surprising Good Energy, The Surprising Connection Between Metabolism and Limitless Health. So that's a great book. Also, Nourishing Traditions is a fabulous book, and the Weston Price Foundation. Those are great resources to learn about all the things we're going to be talking about here today. So Weston Price interviewed Dr. Kate Shanahan, and she talks about the hateful eight: corn, canola, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, rice bran, and grapeseed oil. These are the top ones. And these are all polyunsaturates, and we only need 1 to 2% of our daily intake of fat to be polyunsaturates. If you get more than that, and most Americans, that's all they eat. It's in all the processed food you eat. It's in all the chips and the breads and the cookies and the cakes. I mean, my goodness, every label you read has got them on there. And in fact, a really good tip is if you have to read the label of the product, it's not a whole food. Apples don't come with labels of ingredients.
Yep.
You know? So anyway, what they do is they build up in the body, and they're highly inflammatory. And that's one of the major underlying drivers of chronic disease, from diabetes, Alzheimer's, autoimmune disorders. It's inflammation in the body. And you know, our brains are primarily fat.
Yeah.
They're not made out of seed oil. We need the good, healthy oil to keep us going. And those healthy oils are like avocado, pasture-raised and finished butter, dairy products, you know, from really good organic pasture-finished products. Good eggs, your neighbor's eggs. You grow your own eggs, or, you know, find a farmer's market. Coconut oil is good, olive, fatty fish. Nuts and seeds, but only if you eat them whole and in moderation, not the pressed oils. Animal fats and organic real lard. You know, we got away from real lard, and the seed industry trashed lard. But lard is not unhealthy. Lard is very healthy.
No, and
organic
beef tallow. Beef tallow was used to like fry McDonald's fries back in the day, and it seemed like in the early 90s, there was a demonization of butter, and then margarine became readily available, which is only a few molecules away from plastic, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
How did the food industry get taken over?
It's all about money. It's all about money. When you figure out you can make a product, I think coming out of like World War II, you know, they were like rationing butter because they were, and dairy products, sending stuff over to the soldiers. And I think that's when margarine got invented. You know, eat the fake stuff, you know, save the soldiers kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't know the full history of it, but you can bet money is involved somewhere. And then what began to happen was these food industries, who highly profit from their processed foods that they sell Americans, in their chemical food kitchens, they devise ways to make the food taste really good and to be addictive. I mean, they actually have come up with molecules, food flavorings that have an addictive quality, that don't trigger your sense of satiation, your sense of feeling full. So you want to keep eating them, and you keep craving them. It's really just an evil business, but they have captured our regulatory agencies. You know, they go, and I mean, it's very famous. I had a quote here somewhere about, like, I think it was 2016 is when it was revealed that the sugar industry had faked a bunch of science and, you know, presented that to the FDA and USDA or whoever the oversight agencies are, and tried to convince them that fat was the culprit, fat was bad, and sugar was fine, right? Mm-hmm. It's just the reverse. Bad fats are bad, but good fats are what we thrive on.
Yeah.
And the whole cholesterol ridiculousness. So, you know, that's kind of in a nutshell. There's a lot of good information out there, excellent published materials, published studies, you know, books that you can find. In fact, Callie and Casey's book, when I looked yesterday, #1 bestseller on Amazon, not just in health, not just in food, #1 of all the books right now.
It's incredible. I mean, it seems like we're having a mass awakening to what's been going on, like, under our nose. And
yes,
the food pyramid itself is a scam, correct?
Oh, yeah. So all of that is influenced by industry trying to get people eating more of their type of products. And, you know, so we were sold for so long, you know, don't eat meat, don't eat this and that. And, you know, a pasture-raised, grass-fed finished cow, the meat from that, it has a nutrition profile more similar to salmon. It should be high in those really good omega fatty acids. But when you take a cow off grass and you fatten it up for 3 months in a feedlot and you're feeding it grains which it can't digest very well, and that's chemical laden, their vitamin E plummets, their omega fatty acids plummet, it becomes a completely different product. That whole food pyramid is absolutely incorrect.
So
I love how the means. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so when you look at RFK endorsing Donald Trump, in your dream scenario, how does that play out down the road?
Oh, my goodness. There's so many areas in which Robert F. Kennedy Jr. excels. It's really hard to say. I've heard people go back and forth between making him AG so that he could call all the bad guys in and end corruption, or just put him right over Health and Human Services. So he's over those 3-letter agencies,
Yeah.
And, I'm not quite sure where he'll go. And he just said this morning, he was just interviewed by Glenn Beck, and he said they hadn't got to that level exactly where they're going to place him, but it will be similar to overall impact all of this.
Yeah,
America's health.
I think at the end of the day, there's nothing that this is going to be other than a net positive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've got to think that a lot of these companies who make these products and sell us the drugs, they're shaking in their boots like, okay, people are going to wake up. So what they're going to have to do, though, and so we are empowered as citizens because all of these companies right now cannot exist if we don't buy their products. They feed off of our money. So as we begin to learn what is nutrition and we change our habits, so we're cooking at home more with real foods, and we're choosing restaurants that cook real foods, maybe a mom and pop restaurant that uses scratch materials. We are pulling our money away from the poison industry. Well, they're not stupid. They're going to go, well, we have to change our ways because we have to chase the money. What do the people want?
Yep.
And so we are as powerful as, Bobby Kennedy will be in overseeing the fraud and corruption at these oversight agencies. It's got to be bottom up and top down. But it starts with us. We can today begin impacting health by informed decisions over this.
I'm with you, Bernadette. Start voting with your wallet, right?
Vote with your wallet, absolutely. Who you choose as a doctor, where you get your food, how you prepare your food, all of that.
Hey, I really appreciate you taking some time to call in and kind of break what this means, really break it down for us. Bernadette Pager is the Tennessee Director for Stand for Health Freedom. Where can we keep up with you, Bernadette, and what's some good resources to follow up and do our own research?
Well, standforhealthfreedom.com. Go there, sign up, and then during legislative session, you're going to get notifications when there's bills health freedom related in your state, no matter what state you're in. But, if you're in the state of Tennessee, then you'll get notifications of when you need to take action locally. The Tennessee chapter of Children's Health Defense, tn.children'shealthdefense.org, is a great resource. Recently, a page was created with all the Tennessee vaccine and minor consent laws are there. So that's a great resource for people to know their rights under law in Tennessee. The Weston Price Foundation, as I mentioned earlier, Nourishing Traditions is an excellent one. And Moms Across America, Zen Honeycutt's organization, that's a great one for food related, to find out what toxins are in the processed foods and what choices you have. I highly recommend Moms Across America, Zen Honeycutt.
Bernadette Pager, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today. Really appreciate you and the work that you're doing.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right. Well, we'll be in touch. I'll be getting Bernadette on more. The book she recommended was by Casey Means. It's on Amazon. It's called Good Energy: The Surprising Connection Between Metabolism and Limitless Health. A couple people on the text line have been asking about that. On the way, we have more audio from RFK Jr. at that rally in Arizona, plus the reaction. The media are losing their minds. We'll get to all that and more. It's 9:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Madison. I am so glad that California...
10 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Heat and humidity is going to combine today. That could potentially make the air unhealthy for certain groups. We're talking about active children and adults. And, of course, people with breathing problems are asked to limit any prolonged exertion outdoors today due to the heat and humidity. And to mark the third anniversary of the deaths of 13 U.S. service members during the pullout from Afghanistan, a wreath-laying ceremony taking place at Arlington National Cemetery this morning. Former President Trump participating in the event. The former president says he's considering dropping out of the scheduled debate with Vice President Kamala Harris on ABC News next month. Why? Because of what he called a biased interview with Republican Senator Tom Cotton by host Jonathan Karl yesterday. Cotton managed to get a few points of his own in, though.
Maybe she has changed her position on things like taking away your health insurance and confiscating your gun. If she has changed her position, she owes it to the American people to come out and say in her own words when she changed and why she changed. That's one reason why she needs to address the American people and speak to these questions.
The former president posting on Truth Social raised suspicions about ABC's intentions, referencing the scandal in 2016 when ABC News contributor Donna Brazile allegedly leaked debate questions to Hillary Clinton's campaign. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.04 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram. All of them are the same, at Chris Hand on Air. You can listen to the show wherever you go with the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. You can watch us live on Super Talk TV. We're going to be getting a new sponsor this week for the Super Talk TV live stream.
Interesting.
Our friends at Kingdom Fence.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about them a little bit. Also, you can catch the podcast. If you missed our interview with Bernadette Pajer, podcast will be available on Apple and Spotify, so you can hit the like button, subscribe, rate it 5 stars. I got 4 kids. It'll help me out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm starting to do time stuff, so you guys know when to look for stuff. I think I'm aiming for 12:30 and 2 o'clock are going to be our big podcast numbers.
That's going to be the drops.
Keep an eye out for those drops there. We'll have at least 2 a day.
All right, so one of the things that Bernadette Pajer talked about was Callie and Casey Means. They have been advising RFK Jr. On his health policy, and they've also been advising Donald Trump on his health policy. And there was a big interview that Casey and Callie Means did with Tucker Carlson, which has just been setting the internet on fire. But the book that they wrote that she was talking about was called Good Energy. So definitely check that out. It's #1 right now on Amazon across all books. And, you know, when you look at that RFK endorsement of Trump, it's big. It's big. It brings in a lot of people. A lot of Gen Z voters really like RFK Jr. A lot of suburban moms really like RFK Jr. A lot of crunchy organic hippies like RFK Jr. It's big tent politics. I was critical of RFK in the past. I'm still critical of some of his issues, but I like what him and Trump both have said. We're going to disagree, but we're aligned on the big things. And getting kids in this country healthy, that's a big thing. It's a huge, huge thing. You know, you look at those photos of a beach in the 1950s versus a beach in 2024, and you look at the difference in the photos, it's jaw-dropping. But a lot of it has to do with the toxic food industry. A lot of it has to do with the medical industrial complex. And we need people that are in there trying to fix it that aren't bought and paid for by the toxic food industry and the medical industrial complex. So I'm really excited about what they'll be able to do together. And Donald Trump was talking about this at his rally in Arizona. And he said, listen, we only need to agree on the core things. We can argue about the small things, but there are big things that need to get done. And you're essentially welcome on the team if you believe in a few core things.
But we're welcoming the support from millions of disaffected Democrats, independents, moderates, old-fashioned liberals who still believe in little things like borders. I was there yesterday. That's a scary place. Sir, it's about time that you get out of the sun, sir. We're going to have to get you out of here, sir. Let's get the hell out of here. She was the border czar. She presided over the worst border in history, not American history, world history. Democracy, liberty, and of course, always the right of free speech.
If you believe in free speech, you believe in liberty, you believe in democracy, you believe in secure borders, well, then we can welcome you in. And the new Democrat Party doesn't believe in those things. The new Democrat Party isn't the same Democrat Party that JFK and RFK Sr. were a part of.
Gone forever is the old Democratic Party of FDR, JFK, and that's right, even Bill Clinton. Kamala Harris's Democrat Party is the party of free health care for illegal aliens, communist-style price controls, defund the police. All her life she wants to defund the police. A little while ago she changed, didn't she, huh? Banning gas-powered cars and sex changes for minor children without parental consent. How about that one? How would you like that? Without parental consent. Can you imagine your kid comes home without parental consent? What happened to my baby? What happened?
Yeah, and in some states, that's exactly what can happen. In fact, in some states, they can take your kids away if you don't give in to the transgender delusion. It's mind-blowing. So if you can agree on a few core things, you can be welcomed into the conservative party. The new Democrat Party is nothing like the Democrat Party of old. And this is why RFK left the Democrat Party. This is why he decided to run as an independent. The party that raised him, he went to his first DNC at 6 years old. The party of his father and of his uncle, he left them because they're not the same anymore. And that moment in Arizona where they welcomed RFK onto the stage was nothing short of iconic.
Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome a man who has been an incredible champion for so many of these values that we all share, and we've shared them for a long time. I don't think too many of you people have heard of him. He's very low-key. He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
And the crowd is just going nuts. Absolutely nuts. And somewhere Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters was absolutely seething.
And he deserves it. He deserves it.
So on Friday night, we had a big summer sleepover. My daughter had like 10 girls over. And
I thought you were saying you, Dan, and Matt got together.
No, but we had like an inflatable mechanical bull and all this, and it was like a really fun night.
Nice.
But I knew all this was happening in the background, so at one point I snuck away to walk the dog, and I'm watching this intro, and I'm just like, whoa, what a moment. And then you think back, the 23rd was 1 year since the mugshot. And I remember thinking then, what a moment. And then the assassination attempt, I remember thinking, what a moment. How many more moments are we going to get this presidential cycle? During this campaign, it has been new heights, new lows, and mind-blowing the entire time. This on Friday was nothing short of that. It was mind-blowing. A Kennedy endorsed a Republican. Wrap your mind around that for a second. A Kennedy endorsed a Republican. And Trump echoed what I fully believe as well. If the Dems had done a real primary, RFK would have beaten Joe Biden.
For the past 16 months, Bobby has run an extraordinary campaign for President of the United States. I know, because he also went after me a couple of times. I didn't like it. And I mean this sincerely. Had he been allowed to enter the Democrat primary, he would have easily beaten Joe Biden, but they wouldn't let him in.
No, they didn't want him in there. They didn't want him anywhere near that primary. They did everything they could to beat him through lawfare and keep him off ballots in certain states. And it's no wonder why he was like, guys, I'm out. I'm out. But Trump talks about what Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s candidacy meant.
His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby. You want to know the truth?
Yeah, I agree. I think that they are looking down, and they're very proud. And he stood on principles. He stood on business. David Axelrod of the Obama campaign, the Obama years, he's a big name. He's said that RFK Sr. would have been appalled. And I think, no. He would have been appalled about the way the Democrat Party has turned out, not the way RFK Jr. has turned out. The RFK Jr. has taken slings and arrows for years, talking about topics that you're not allowed to talk about, whether it's the vaccine industry, whether it's autism rates in this country, whether it's the absolute poison being pumped into our children through the food industry. He's lost so much because of it. Yet still he persists because he believes in it. I think this is awesome. And Trump said, the thing that unites them is they're both in it to do what's right for the country. And I believe that wholeheartedly. When you look at the Democrats like Kamala Harris, I don't believe that she loves the country. I just don't. You look at a lot of people on the left. I don't believe that they love the country. I can disagree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on a slew of topics, and I still truly believe he does love the country.
Soon after I can't even believe I have to say this, nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania last month, Bobby called me to express his best wishes. He knows firsthand the risks incurred by leaders who stand up to the corrupt political establishment. When you stand up, you bring on some trouble for yourself, but you have to do what's right. You have to do what's right for the country. I will tell you, we are both in this to do what's right for the country. That's one thing I can tell you.
And you believe him when he says it. You believe him. They're in it to do what's right for the country. Both of these guys, because of the positions that they've held, have lost so much, be it family, money, you can go down the list. Both of these guys would have had a much comfier life staying silent and enjoying their money. Both of these guys said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. This is the big difference. This is the big difference between the top of our ticket and the top of their ticket. It's the big difference. And Trump, to, essentially give thanks to RFK, I would imagine, and partly because he just wants to do it, he said that he's announcing a new commission that will eventually release the JFK files.
He lost his father and uncle in service to our country, and Bobby himself was subject to repeated threats to his safety during the course of his campaign while being denied protection by the Harris-Biden administration. And this is a tribute in honor of Bobby. I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And they will also conduct a rigorous review of the attack last month.
Yeah, and they'll look into the Trump assassination as well. You want to hear petty? You want to know how petty these people on the left are? So they fought RFK Jr. tooth and nail over Secret Service protection. And the moment he dropped out of the race, he suspended his campaign and endorsed Trump. The Biden-Harris administration has now withdrawn Bobby Kennedy's Secret Service protection. They are the most petty and vindictive individuals ever. Now that he's going to be campaigning with Trump, and he's going to be actually in more danger, mind you, he loses his Secret Service protection. The Secret Service will no longer provide security for RFK Jr. as of Sunday, after the independent candidate announced he's suspending his presidential campaign and throwing his support to former President Trump. Petty and vindictive. The New York Post reported this after Robert and Trump joined forces in Arizona. Law enforcement sources told the Post on Sunday that his Secret Service protection was ending after his bow out, and the agency later confirmed it. That's correct. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is no longer receiving U.S. Secret Service protection. After months of fighting to get it, they didn't even give it to him until Donald Trump had an assassination attempt on his life. And now that he's going to be out there campaigning with Trump, most likely in more danger, he doesn't have it anymore. Petty and vindictive. That's what these Democrats are. Petty and vindictive. I couldn't believe when I read that. What a bunch of slime balls. Yet they'll persist because they have to do what's right for the country. They have to. And we will. On the left, our opponents are a bit different.
Our opponents worship the deep state. We want to obliterate the deep state. Slight difference. Our opponents, thank you. Our opponents join with warmongers and neocons to wage endless wars, these wars that never end. We don't even know who the hell the country is that we're fighting. We believe that America is strongest when America is at peace. We want peace through strength. That's what we want. Like we had 4 years ago. We didn't have any wars, except we wiped out ISIS very quickly. It was supposed to take 5 years to beat ISIS. I did it in 3 weeks. They support coercive COVID vaccine mandates and want to fire you. If you don't obey, you get fired. We oppose these mandates as a fundamental violation of our God-given rights. We don't want the mandates. We don't want the mandates.
We're not the same. We're just not. And there's no getting around that. And this is why RFK Jr. left the Democrats to join the conservatives and President Trump. This is why he threw his support behind somebody that loves the country as opposed to somebody who wants to rule the country. We're not the same. We're just not. On the way, I do have the audio from when RFK finally got to speak, and Donald Trump said something there that was interesting about having a strong military. Well, we don't have a strong military under Biden-Harris. We won't under Harris as well. I have a story that I want to bring to you. The U.S. Navy has had to sideline 17 ships because of a lack of manpower. Whose fault is that? We'll talk about that as well. It's 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Real quick, it's August. That means back to school time. My kids are getting ready to go back to school this week. Well, don't give your teacher a boring old apple when you show up that first day, all right? Set your kids up on the right path this year. Grease the wheels a little bit and take advantage of Busy Bee's buy one, get one free Beehive membership. That's right. Through the end of August, it's buy one, get one on the Beehive Club membership. So you buy one and you get to give one to your favorite teacher, faculty, or staff member at your kid's school. It's a great deal, and it comes with so much value. The Beehive Club membership is only $99, and you receive 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your heating, 1 for your plumbing, a 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a $1,000 maximum, and no overtime or holiday fees. This is just $99, and it's BOGO for you and a teacher, faculty member, coach, or staff member at your kid's school. Do it before the deal runs out at the end of August. Call Busy Bee, your Rude Pro partner, where satisfaction is guaranteed today. 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybeehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Today marks 6 months since Sebastian Rogers disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, and we have a new development on the reward that is being offered for information. Coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We've been going over this audio from RFK Jr. and there was one clip where Donald Trump was talking about a strong military. You gotta have a strong military, right? Well, we don't under Biden-Harris. We don't. There's a new report. The U.S. Navy to sideline 17 ships for lack of manpower. Oh, the Navy drag queen influencers didn't ramp up the recruitment like you planned? Who could have seen that coming? I thought there would be a flood of new recruits because of that. You remember that? I remember. I wish I didn't. But there are now not enough merchant Marines for the U.S. Navy to fully man 17 vessels, reportedly causing official plans to take them out of regular operation. The Merchant Marines organization, made up of civilian mariners, managed by a combination of federal government and the private sector, has lost too much manpower to properly crew and operate ships across the fleet, Fox News has reported. The problem, of course, is the ships are at sea, away from home port for 12 months of the year. Admiral Mark Montgomery, retired Senior Director of the Center on Cyber and Technology Innovation for the Foundation for Defense of Democracy, said. Whew, that's a mouthful. While they're not officially members of the U.S. military, Merchant Marines are operators of commercial ships who also serve as auxiliary during wartime or in a national emergency, according to the Department of Transportation's Maritime Administration. And according to Montgomery, we're desperately short of the number of people. There's a lack of experienced merchant mariners to crew the ships, and this is really a clear danger to our national security. Clear danger to our national security. There's some things that we need to do. I was talking to a guy over the weekend, good guy, military guy, and he said, look at the budget for the military under Reagan, is what he told me. So I looked it up, and it was like, in 1980, it was 4.9% of our GDP. In 1988, it was 5.8% of our GDP. Recently, though, it's far lower, closer to 3% of U.S. GDP. So we're underfunding these guys, right? The pay stinks, and then you got to leave home for 12 months. We could do a lot of things better in the military. Upping that budget back to closer to 6% of GDP as opposed to 3% like it is now would be a step in the right direction. But I think just getting Trump and his team back in there is going to be a step in the right direction for common sense policies. Like that seems like common sense, does it not? And that's what we're all hoping for when we see a guy like RFK endorse Donald Trump, is the return of common sense, especially when it comes to our health policy. We need common sense back in that arena. Donald Trump saluted RFK for his fight in the health arena.
And I also want to salute Bobby's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and our children. Nobody's done more. Millions and millions of Americans who want clean air, clean water, and a healthy nation have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food. That's why today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and many more. We want every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life.
Amen. That's what we want. And I know millions of parents agree with that. Millions upon millions. I think this is going to be a huge, huge move for the America First movement, the MAGA movement, and more. Robert F. Kennedy did speak at that rally. We'll bring you what he had to say after the news with Ken Weaver, which starts right now on Super Talk.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We have the full forecast in 5 minutes. If you've got some work to do outdoors today, it's best to get it done early. That's the message from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. They've issued a code orange health advisory for the Nashville area today because there's a chance that heat and humidity combine to make the air exceed unhealthy ozone standards. That could mean problems for young children, older adults, and anyone with a respiratory disease like asthma. Today marks 6 months since Sebastian Rogers disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, and we have a new development. News 2 says the FBI is now offering up to $50,000 for information leading to the location and return of the missing teen, or to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for his disappearance. There have been several massive search efforts across hundreds of miles of Middle Tennessee, but no sign of Sebastian, who was last seen on February 26th in the area of Stafford Court in Hendersonville. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's Chris Hand here from my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. The guys at USS are great. Hardworking guys that believe in the work they do, so much so that when they leave a job, they leave a warranty that is good for life. Even if you leave the home, the warranty stays. Where else do you hear that? Well, what does the guys at USS do? United Structural Systems are your experts in so much, whether it's foundation repair, to basement and crawl space waterproofing, concrete lifting, or just fixing that sinkhole that you're tired of looking at on your property. USS does it all. So take a walk around your house when you have some time and look for some red flags. Are you seeing cracks in your foundation? Maybe sinking steps on up to your patio? Maybe inside the house you got bowing basement walls or cracks in your basement floors. These are all things that are warning signs that your house is trying to tell you something. The guys at USS are fluent in house. They'll come through, look at what's going on, and come up with a diagnosis. Then they'll come up with a custom solution for you, and they won't leave until the job is done and you are satisfied. And they've done this so many times that they have 25,000 satisfied customers to back them up. Call USS today. United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855. Online at USSTN.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Today, RFK Jr. had suspended his campaign endorsing Trump. Kennedy telling reporters that Trump had asked him to, quote, enlist him in his administration. Now, the latest swing state polls show Kennedy with 5 or 6% of the vote. And so when you think about it overall, you may say, well, that's not a big deal. Actually, if that is the case in swing states, it is huge. It is everything. It is more than the margin between Harris and Trump in some of those same states.
That's CNN's Aaron Burnett laying out how big of a deal the RFK endorsement is for Donald Trump. It's 10:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand. I agree. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a pretty big deal. I'm looking forward to see what happens in the polling. You know, a lot of people are commenting on this. You got CNN admitting that it's a big deal. You got guys like Brett Weinstein. He's come out. Do you know who Brett Weinstein is? He's an author. He talks a lot. He's been pretty critical about what's been happening over the past few years under Democrat rule. He was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, and he had this to say about RFK endorsement of Trump, saying, you know, this actually opens it up for me, and I may vote Trump now.
Absolutely. Let me just be perfectly clear about this. I think the modern Democratic Party is an existential threat to the Republic. And although I am a Democrat, I've been a Democrat my whole life, the party that I see in front of me today is literally the inverse of the party I signed up for. This is now the party of war. This is the party of racism. This is the party of censorship. I don't recognize this party. There is no conceivable scenario in which I would vote for Kamala Harris. I just simply will not do it. Am I open to voting for Trump? I am. I'm especially open to it if he is partnered with Bobby Kennedy, because what that tells me is that my values, which are a much closer match for Bobby's, are represented in that administration. And that's really what I want.
Big Tent politics. Big Tent politics. We can disagree on some issues, but there are some big issues that we can all agree on.
I want a coalition to redefine American politics because, frankly, we have a long-standing problem with corruption, which has now turned into something else with the modern Democratic Party. But we need to rethink the way we govern ourselves so that corruption is not the dominant force, and a coalition is the way we're going to do that.
Yeah, a team of rivals, right? Lincoln did it. We're gonna see this again in real time. I mean, you think about who he's potentially bringing into this next administration. RFK Jr., J.D. Vance, maybe Tulsi Gabbard, maybe Vivek, maybe Elon Musk in some capacity. It's crazy, man. Nobody's going to agree on everything, but you're going to have a lot of smart people in the room there for the conversation at the table. On the flip side, it's the 3-year anniversary today of the bombing at Abbey Gate during the botched Afghanistan withdrawal, the bombing that left 13 soldiers dead, service members dead. Kamala Harris brags constantly that she was the last person in the room, the last voice at that table with Joe Biden. Is that who we want at the table making decisions, or would we rather have a team of rivals? Sign me up for the rivals. Sign me up for the rivals. RFK in Arizona, on Friday, making his entrance, and it was a sight to be seen. And the crowd, a very conservative crowd, welcomed him with open arms.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump.
I don't know if he was ready for the intro and the welcome that he received. The roof almost blew off that place.
A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked about, not about the things that separate us because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic.
If that's what he's going to be aiming towards and working on, I think we could all agree that this is a good pickup for the Trump team. Massive pickup for the Trump team. Again, he's talking about the advisors for health that Trump is talking to are the same advisors for health that he's talking to. Bernadette Pager from Tennessee Stand for Health Freedom. We had an interview with her a little while ago in a show, about an hour ago, and she said, this is Callie Means and Casey Means that are advising both RFK and Donald Trump. They both actually did an interview with Tucker Carlson, which you can view on Twitter as well. I'll retweet it from my account at Chris Hand on Air, so it's easy for you to find. They wrote a book called Good Energy, #1 bestseller, #1 on Amazon right now. The things that are lining up and what they want to tackle are bigger than the differences, and you got to love that. And as RFK puts it, in this country, who doesn't want healthy children?
Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children?
Yes.
And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted.
That's what President Trump told RFK he wanted too. Political elites on the Democrat establishment side, like David Axelrod, are saying that RFK Jr.'s dad would be appalled at this endorsement. I disagree completely. He's still fighting for the same things he wants to fight for. He's still there for the big issues. Who doesn't want healthy children in America? We've all seen it. Young kids that are obese, almost through no fault of their own. And then if you're from low-income housing and you're getting food stamps or EBT, we're essentially subsidizing the poison that is being fed to these kids. It's disgusting. It needs to change. Other countries don't tolerate it. Canada doesn't. Europe doesn't. But here in America, it's just, well, let's not talk about it. Robert F. Kennedy's made this conversation mainstream. He's made it mainstream. And I think that we owe a tip of the hat for that. Parents all over the world have been talking about this for a long time. A long time. Now this conversation's mainstream. But he didn't stop there. He also says that Trump told him he wanted to end the neocon grip on foreign policy.
He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. He said he didn't want any more $200 billion wars in Ukraine, that we could use that money back here in the United States.
Absolutely. Absolutely we could.
And the safest, the best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country. And don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class in this country?
I think that's what we all want, no? Ending the neocon grip on foreign policy is something that we've been clamoring about since, I don't know, 2012, 2008. We're tired of the Team America World Police approach to foreign policy. Tired of it. And then rebuilding the industrial base in America here keeps us stronger. We don't have to rely on our enemies for steel. These are the big issues, right? And we're lined up. We're absolutely lined up. Then another big issue that we got to deal with is ending censorship.
And he told me that he wanted to end the censorship because the whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys, because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism.
Yeah, and you look at what we're seeing across the globe. I posted this tweet from, oh gosh, what was it? End Wokeness is the Twitter account, End Wokeness. And it just lays it out. Listen, the UK is mass arresting citizens for memes, for speaking out against migrants stabbing children. France just arrested the founder of Telegram. That's a big story that we're going to get to today. Ireland is trying to ban memes. Brazil has forced Twitter to flee the country. Australia is censoring Twitter posts. The EU tried to blackmail Elon Musk before the Donald Trump interview aired on Twitter. Our own DOJ put a guy in jail for a meme, the text to vote guy. You remember this? Maduro has blocked all access to Twitter. Free speech is absolutely under assault. 100%. And it's either Donald Trump and RFK, or we can go for Harris Waltz. And let me remind you who Tim Waltz is.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
No guarantee to free speech. Which way, America? It seems pretty obvious to me. But the big thing that Bobby Kennedy wanted to do and what he wants to get done is make America healthy again.
And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? Thank you all very, very much, and God bless you, and God bless America.
I mean, it was a really cool moment to see RFK Jr. out there on stage in Arizona with Donald Trump. Really cool. He wants to fight the disease epidemic in this country. He wants to get the junk and the poison out of our foods. And he really wants to protect free speech. The other side doesn't. The other side says there's no guarantee to free speech. And these globalists, these leftist progressives are in power all over the world. And we saw them reach out and strike one more time over the weekend. I mentioned it a moment ago. The Telegram CEO has been arrested, Pavel Durov, at a Paris airport. Why? Well, he doesn't want to censor people on Telegram. I'll tell you more about that story after the break. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Former President Trump makes an unscheduled stop to say something on the third anniversary of the deaths of 13 U.S. service members during the pullout from Afghanistan. We'll let you hear it at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 10:58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Every time I say neocon, everybody wants to know what it means. Neocons are interventionists. You can't do that over there. We have to bring you democracy. You know, it never really works out the way they plan it. You know, the Team America World Police kind of guys.
Yeah, much fun.
Yeah, we're isolationists. America first. We'll deal with it if it affects us. And until then, yeah, hard pass. Free speech under attack globally. The French authorities have arrested the Telegram CEO Pavel Durov at a Paris airport, French media report. What was his crime? Failure to moderate Telegram. That's it. Failure to moderate. They got him on an arrest warrant alleging his platform has been used for money laundering, drug trafficking, and other offenses. Oh, sounds a lot like Facebook and Instagram and just about every other social media platform. Pavel Durov is a dual citizen of France and Russia. He was taken into custody Saturday evening after landing in France, according to broadcasters from out there. And why are they really after this guy? Well, because he has an encrypted platform with no back doors for three-letter agencies to get their fingers in. Yeah, he believes in free speech. I actually have some audio I dug up. He had done an interview with Tucker Carlson. You'll never believe, you're smart, you probably will, how many times the FBI has been all in this guy's business. I'll play you those clips after the break. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 2 minutes. To mark the third anniversary of the deaths of 13 U.S. service members during the pullout from Afghanistan, a wreath-laying ceremony taking place at Arlington National Cemetery this morning, and former President Trump participated. Then, making an unscheduled stop in Falls Church, Virginia, to say the Biden administration has been wholly incompetent, and he referenced the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Because of Afghanistan, it showed our enemies that we're incompetent, that we have an incompetent president, an incompetent vice president.
Meantime, the former president packing a busy schedule this week with events taking place in battleground states.
Rallying supporters later today in Michigan before hitting Wisconsin and Pennsylvania later this week, hoping his new endorsement from independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will give him a boost, with Vice President Harris erasing his lead in the polls.
That's ABC's Selena Wang reporting. An update on that super yacht that sank off the coast of Italy. Italian media reporting the ship's captain is now under investigation. We get more from Ines de la Cutera at the foreign desk.
Just days after prosecutors launched a manslaughter investigation into the deaths of 7 people killed when that super yacht sank off the coast of Sicily, Italian media now reporting the ship's captain has been put under investigation for multiple manslaughter and causing a shipwreck. This comes amid questions as to whether surviving crew members could have done more to save those who perished, believed to have been asleep when the ship sank.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Don't forget, just announced today. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun. Myself, Mandis, Murphy, Wilson, Scoreboard, Cedar Creek, and Mount Juliet. That's where we're watching the next presidential debate. Will the presidential debate even happen, though?
Yeah, who knows? Will Kamala back out by this point?
Or Trump. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But if the debate goes on as scheduled, join us live in Mount Juliet, returning to Scoreboard, Cedar Creek. Brian Wilson's going to be starting a show there at 3 o'clock. And then we're going to be watching Trump take on Harris in real time. After watching a debate with an audience live with the vibrations flowing, I never want to do it a different way again.
I don't blame you, yeah.
It was a wild time when we did the last one. I expect this one to be just as wild. So make sure you're out there. Scoreboard, Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet. It's going to be a blast. All right, so we were talking about the Telegram CEO, Pavel Durov. He was arrested at a Paris airport for the crime of not moderating his social media platform, Telegram. Does anybody use Telegram?
I've used it a couple times, but not like drastically.
I use it for encrypted chats for business stuff.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was like you have business documents and whatnot flooding through there. That makes sense.
You can join channels, and it almost is like a Twitter feed for any personality that you want to follow. I don't use it that way. I know a lot of people do. So like you could find certain individuals that you like, and then it's like you get messages from them in the same way you would see tweets on their timeline.
Yeah.
So if like you went to their profile and you saw the timeline, it kind of works the same way. He's not huge, the CEO of Telegram on censorship. In fact, he's anti-censorship. He's anti-moderation. He just lets people do what they want on the platform. And French authorities don't like that very much. They say it's because his platform has been used for money laundering, drug trafficking, and other offenses. But I think it's because his platform is used for free speech and the exchange of ideas, because that is far more dangerous. If we were shutting down social media platforms and arresting CEOs over money laundering and drug trafficking, Zuckerberg would have been arrested in France a long time ago, right? I think we can all agree on that. It's not that show me the man, I'll show you the crime. You know what I mean? It's not anything to do with something other than this guy's pro-free speech. And he actually did an interview with Tucker. This is back in April of 2024. He sat down with Tucker Carlson, did a big, long interview, and he laid out that the FBI has been after them for a while. Anytime he comes to America, he's paid a visit by the FBI, this poor guy, because he likes free speech and the free exchange of ideas. And he tells a story about how the FBI actually tried to buy off one of his engineers. Literally tried to hire him.
We get too much attention from the FBI, the security agencies, wherever we came to the U.S. So to give you an example, last time I was in the U.S., I brought an engineer that is working for Telegram, and there was an attempt to secretly hire my engineer behind my back by cybersecurity officers or agents, wherever they are called.
The U.S. government tried to hire your engineer?
That's my understanding. That's what he told me.
To write code for them or to break into Telegram?
They were curious to learn which open source libraries are integrated to the Telegram's app, on the client side, and they were trying to persuade him to use certain open source tools that he would then integrate into the Telegram's code that, in my understanding, would serve as backdoors.
Would allow the U.S. government to spy on people who use Telegram?
The U.S. government, or maybe any other government, because a backdoor is a backdoor regardless of who is using it.
So the FBI tried to hire this guy's engineer under his nose to bake a backdoor into the code on Telegram. Now, this might seem unrelated to France, but I am of the opinion that it's all very much related. You know the Five Eyes, right? It's like Australia, Canada, England, France, I believe, and then is it New Zealand? I believe it's New Zealand. Anyway, all these intelligence agencies communicate with each other. Nothing is done in a vacuum here. And the FBI trying to buy an engineer to create a back door doesn't shock me one bit. And it doesn't shock me that this guy's been arrested for not moderating the platform and allowing free speech to flourish. He said that he's actually been personally visited by the FBI before.
You're confident that happened?
Yes. There is no reason for my engineer to make up the stories. Also because I personally experienced similar pressure in the US. Whenever I would go to the US, I would have two FBI agents greeting me at the airport, asking questions. One time I was having my breakfast at like 9 a.m. and the FBI showed up at my house that I was renting. And that was quite surprising. And I thought, we're getting too much attention here. It's probably not the best environment to run.
Why would had you committed a crime?
No, they were interested to learn more about Telegram. They knew I, left Russia. They knew what we were doing, but they wanted details. And my understanding is that they wanted to establish a relationship to kind of, in a way, control Telegram better. I understand they were doing their job. It's just that for us running a privacy-focused social media platform, that probably wasn't the best environment to be. And we want to be focused on what we do, not on government relations of that sort.
This is just another example of free speech under attack. I mentioned the tweet from End Wokeness earlier. You see what's happening in the UK, mass arrests of citizens for memes or for speaking out on Facebook and social media against their migrant crisis that they're having. You see France arrest the founder of Telegram. Ireland is trying to ban mean memes. Brazil forces Twitter to flee the country. Australia is trying to censor Twitter posts. The EU trying to blackmail Elon Musk before the Donald Trump interview. The DOJ, our own DOJ, put someone in jail for a meme, the text in to vote meme. Maduro blocking access to Twitter. Free speech is under attack across the globe. And it's no wonder why RFK Jr. says this is one of the big reasons why I'm endorsing Donald Trump. He's pro-free speech. The CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovski, he announced that he has safely departed from Europe following the arrest of Telegram CEO Pavel Durov in France and subsequent threats made against Rumble by French authorities. That they're going after all of them. All of them. It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Pavel Durov, he put out a statement, condemned Chris Pavlovski put out a statement condemning the actions against Durov and vowed to fight for freedom of expression. He said, France has threatened Rumble, and now they have crossed a red line by arresting Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, reportedly for not censoring speech. Rumble will not stand for this behavior and will use every legal means available to fight for freedom of expression, a universal human right. We are currently fighting in the courts of France, and we hope for Pavel Durov's immediate release. It's crazy to watch this happen. Crazy. And Rumble, they've been under their own assault. China banned Rumble. France threatened Rumble. They left. Brazil threatened Rumble. They left. The UK has threatened Rumble. Russia banned Rumble. New Zealand threatens Rumble. And now with France arresting the CEO of Telegram, it's how can you not look at this and see free speech is under attack? It's absolutely under attack. Elon Musk weighed into the conversation and said it's vital to the support of free speech that you forward Twitter posts to people you know, especially in censorship-heavy countries. It's vital to the support of free speech. Free speech is under attack. And why? Well, because they can't stand on their own ideas. These leftists and these globalists, they have no good ideas. And then the debate may not even happen. They're saying that Donald Trump may back out, but he's going to back out possibly because of what they're trying to do for Kamala Harris. I mean, Kamala gives no interviews, no press conferences, and now during this ABC debate, she's demanding a seated debate with notes for September 10th. The Harris campaign, after having already agreed to the CNN rules, asked for a seated debate with notes and opening statements. We said no changes to the agreed upon rules. So Kamala Harris wants to change the rules of the upcoming September 10th debate. Instead of a normal standing debate, she wants everybody sitting down, and instead of both candidates speaking contemporaneously, drawing on facts and figures they know, she wants notes, as though some kind of an open book test, as it's some kind of open book test. It's a joke. Jason Miller, who's a Trump campaign senior advisor, spoke to Politico Playbook and said, enough with the games. We accepted the ABC debate under the exact same terms as the CNN debate. The Harris campaign, after having already agreed to the CNN rules, asked for a seated debate with notes and opening statements. We said no changes to the agreed upon rules. If Kamala Harris isn't smart enough to repeat the messaging points her handlers want her to memorize, that's her problem. This seems to be a pattern for the Harris campaign. They won't allow Harris to do interviews. They won't allow her to do press conferences. And now they want to give her a cheat sheet for the debate. My guess is that they're looking for a way to get out of any debate with President Trump. No, they'd much rather highlight Harris without any interviews, without any press conferences, and tell you what she's thinking, as opposed to her saying it on her own, right? It's wild. It's wild. Trump went after Harris at the Arizona rally, and he went after the DNC as well. How awesome is it that the thunder has completely been stolen out of the DNC because of the RFK endorsement? I think that we all need to thank RFK for that as well. Not that there was much thunder. I felt like there wasn't much thunder that Friday morning after Kamala's speech. But, I mean, it's all gone now.
As you all know, this week the Democrats held their convention. You probably saw it, their party. The media says the big message from their convention was that we need to turn the page from the failures of the last 4 years. Do you believe it? They forgot. They've run it for the last 4 years.
Seriously.
She was saying last night, we will stop the abuse. We will stop the high taxes. I said that you could have done it 3.5 years ago. In fact, you could leave that nice auditorium that you're in and go to the White House right now. You want to have a strong border? All you have to do is say to the incredible Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement, close the border now. You don't need bills. I did it. And we had the best border in history.
He's absolutely right. You're in power now, but the media covers for them. The media gaslights. This is what we're up against. This is why the fight for free speech is so important, because we can't go back to a 2020 era where we're being censored on social media and taken out of the digital public square. This is why it's so important to have RFK bros come into the fold and understand that the big issues we're completely aligned on. And Trump says, together with RFK, they're going to go after these elites.
Bobby and I will fight together to defeat the corrupt political establishment and return control of this country to the people. And all who supported Bobby's campaign, I very simply ask you join us in building this coalition. It's a beautiful coalition in defense of liberty and safety, prosperity and peace. It's going to be an incredible coalition, and the relationship has been so good for so long. I have no doubt it's going to work and work well. But we have to win. We have to take our country away from these people that are going to destroy our country. We won't have a country left. So thank you very much. We need your vote.
We do. We do need your vote. And if it comes to the big issues, free speech, the medical industrial complex, the military industrial complex, there's only one choice. There's only one choice. But, Kamala will whisper sweet nothings during a teleprompter speech, and she won't give any interviews. And she'll try and say that on day one she'll fix everything, but day one was 3.5 years ago.
Kamala mentioned my name, I think, 21 times. She didn't mention the border. She didn't mention inflation. She didn't mention anything but my name over and over and over again.
That's all they have is Orange Man bad. That's it.
She blamed me for the border. I haven't been there in 4 years. You saw it. I had the safest border, the best border we've ever had. She blamed me for the border. They lied so much. They lied about everything. She said I was involved with something called Project 25. I don't even know what the hell it is.
They mentioned Project 2025 quite a bit at the DNC. But one thing they didn't mention at the DNC is the number of illegal aliens that Kamala Harris has let in. Another thing they didn't mention at the DNC were the number of missing kids, 300-something thousand since Harris has been border czar. 300-something thousand missing kids at the border.
According to a new DHS report, Kamala Harris also lost, and this is impossible to believe, listen to this, 325,000 migrant children are gone. They're missing. She allowed them to be trafficked into our country. Many of these children are now in sex slavery or they're dead, probably mostly dead. They will never see their homes or their parents again. They were swiped out of their homes. They were taken out of their homes. 300, this is a government number, 325,000 children, sex slaves or they're dead. Many are dead.
It's really sad, yet the media hasn't asked her one question about it. The media hasn't been able to ask her one question since she became the candidate. She hasn't given one interview. Don't worry, though. She said she'll get to it by the end of the month. But by the end of the month, she'll maybe have one. I wonder which friendly news network she's going to sit down with. Donald Trump had a lot more to say about Kamala Harris at his rally in Arizona. We'll bring it to you next. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Huge police presence in East Nashville, where reports say a suspect is barricaded in a home. This story and more at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 11:25 on Super Talk. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. I did repost that interview that Tucker did with Casey Means and Callie Means about the health industry, the food industry, and the medical industrial complex. It's a recurring theme today, because we've been going over all the RFK stuff. We had a great interview with Bernadette Pager from Tennessee's Stand for Health Freedom. That'll be podcasted very soon. She's fantastic. We're really diving into it. The big issues we're all lined up on, right? Free speech, the health of the nation. We can all get down with that. We can. And Kamala Harris, had she been smart, she would have welcomed Robert Kennedy into the fold and championed some of these issues. Now, they wouldn't be able to champion free speech with a straight face. But she could have got behind some of the health stuff, right? Probably. But see, they're all in the pockets. They're all in the pockets. These elites in government, it's on both sides. They're paid off by the pharmaceutical industry. They're paid off by big food. But there's a couple people that just can't be bought. And it turns out they're on our side, which is fantastic to watch. Donald Trump, he had this to say about getting the RFK endorsement. He's actually doing an interview with Dr. Phil that airs tomorrow, I believe. And then RFK Jr. has one that's going to air on Wednesday. But he had this to say about the RFK endorsement.
RFK Jr. has offered his support to you and your campaign. How do you feel about that?
I'm very honored by it. He's a very smart guy, a different kind of a guy, but very smart, loves our country, has some, I think, very good views on a lot of different things. And I've known him for a long time. We've been somewhat friendly, actually. And I think he's going to be a great asset. And will I have him in the administration? It's possible. We haven't really discussed that, but it's possible. But I think he adds a lot. I think he adds a lot to the election. He's got a good following, tremendous following. I think he adds a lot to the election, and I think he adds a lot to if we win. I mean, he's got some very interesting ideas and good ideas.
Yeah, Kennedy took to Twitter as well, and he said, he talked about MAGA, Make America Great Again. He says it's a phrase that troubles a lot of people. Oh, MAGA. These MAGA Republicans. Oh, my gosh. I mean, even Cory Booker was on CNN over the weekend. He said we're going to kill the MAGA strain of Republicans.
And what I know this election can do is finally kill that strain of the Republican Party in a way that I think helps the pragmatic Republicans come back.
Yeah, they want to kill the strain of the Republican Party that's for the people and wants to make the country great again. Poor choice of words, given we're not even 2 months removed from an assassination attempt. But whatever, that's just liberals for you. But Robert F. Kennedy took to Twitter and he said this MAGA stuff. You gotta really look at it. And he wrote a nice long post. He said the phrase has troubled liberals who think it's a call to return to an America before civil rights, gay rights, and women's rights. But I have a more generous interpretation. One that is truer to my experience of Donald Trump as he is today. Make America Great Again recalls a nation brimming with vitality, with a can-do spirit, with a hope and a belief in itself. It was an America that was beginning to confront its darker shadows, could acknowledge the injustice in its past and present, yet at the same time could celebrate its successes. It was a nation of broad prosperity, the world's most vibrant middle class, and an idealistic belief, though not consistently applied, in freedom, justice, and democracy. It was a nation that led the world in innovation, productivity, and technology, and it was the healthiest country in the world. I have talked to many Trump supporters. I have talked with his inner circle. I have talked to the man himself. This is the America they want to restore. I thought it was very, very well put. Make America Great Again is nothing scary. It's just that. Make America Great Again. And RFK, he's in the fold. And he told Shannon Bream over the weekend on Fox News, he sat down for an interview. He said, listen, we're in line on most of the bigger issues.
President Trump had been reaching out to me, and I talked to him a few hours after the assassination attempt, and we had a long conversation by phone. I then had 2 extensive meetings, and there were issues, the broad issues that were most important to me, the ones that brought me into the campaign, which was ending the Ukraine war, ending the censorship, and protecting children's health. We're all reforming our food supply, all the things that we need to do to make our children healthy again.
We'll bring more from that interview with RFK and Shannon Bream after the news with Ken Weaver. And RFK actually said more Democrats are going to be coming forward and joining the Trump train. Crazy. We'll play it for you. It's 11:30 on Super Talk.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we have a crash. This is blocking the left shoulder, 24 westbound, right there at the 65 downtown split. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in East Nashville, Channel 4 says it's got a crew on the scene of a standoff situation on Carter Street. One person barricaded inside a home. Police are trying to negotiate a peaceful resolution. Former President Trump says he's considering dropping out of the scheduled debate with Vice President Kamala Harris on ABC News next month. Why? Because of what he called a biased interview with Republican Senator Tom Cotton by host Jonathan Karl yesterday. Cotton managed to get a few points of his own in, though.
Maybe she has changed her position on things like taking away your health insurance and confiscating your gun. If she has changed her position, she owes it to the American people to come out and say in her own words when she changed and why she changed. That's one reason why she needs to address the American people and speak to these questions.
Former president speaking on Truth Social raised suspicions about ABC's intentions, referencing the scandal in 2016 when ABC News contributor Donna Brazile allegedly leaked debate questions to Hillary Clinton's campaign. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand, and we talk a lot about the Glock store. I mean, it's the best place to buy a Glock. They have every Glock in stock. It's the best place to learn. Every session is a private lesson. I love going there for private lessons. It's the best place to shoot. You have private rooms, not public lanes. It's also the best place to compete. The USPSA and the low light, no light open competitions every month. Have you ever seen these? They actually put them on display there. If you're ever shopping, go look at the screens in the back. You can see some of the low light, no light competitions. So cool. But how about this one? The Glock store is now the best place to party. The kids are all saying it. Have you heard the kids? There ain't no party like a Glock store party. You've probably seen the billboards, but here's what it's about. Whether you're throwing a birthday, a retirement, or a corporate team building party, do it at the Glock store. You'll get a VIP room with a full kitchen, dedicated shooting rooms, instructors to teach you what to do. You'll get shooting activities designed for every level, and they'll include all the ammo. They'll even give you full auto options. Now, to get your party started, all you have to do is email them, party@glockstore.com. Party@glockstore.com. And then include the day, the time, the number of people, and they'll be right back to you with a great party plan tailored to your exact needs. It's the Glock store, my place to shoot, everyone's place to party, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
President Trump had been reaching out to me, and I talked to him a few hours after the assassination attempt, and we had a long conversation by phone. I then had 2 extensive meetings, and there were issues, the broad issues that were most important to me, the ones that brought me into the campaign, which was ending the Ukraine war, ending the censorship, and protecting children's health. We're all reforming our food supply, all the things that we need to do to make our children healthy again. Those are all things that President Trump also wanted to work on. And he invited me to form a unity government. We agreed that we'd be able to continue to criticize each other on issues on which we don't agree. But these issues are so important in their way of unifying our country. We need in this country to reach a point where we love our children more than we hate each other.
I love it. That's RFK Jr. during an interview with Shannon Bream over the weekend. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I made the point earlier. It's Unity Party versus Uniparty now. We watched RFK go out there on Friday in Arizona, and with all of the history, all of the lineage from his father and his uncle, and he lit it all on fire for the world to see. He did. He lit it on fire for the world to see. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. The party went off the rails a long time ago, and RFK isn't going with them. It's pretty wild. Pretty fun to watch. And he said to Shannon Bream, she asked him, would you dismantle the FDA, the NIH, et cetera? Would you dismantle these agencies?
Is it fair to say that you would try to dismantle some of those organizations?
No, I wouldn't dismantle them. I would change the focus, and I would end the corruption. Right now, 75% of FDA's budget is coming from pharmaceutical companies. That is a perverse incentive. In NIH, scientists and officials in NIH who work on drug development, who incubate drugs for the pharmaceutical company, get to collect lifetime royalties from those products. These are regulators. They're supposed to be looking for problems in those products. We have these agencies that have become sock puppets for the industries they're supposed to regulate. So they're not really interested in public health. Everybody, the most profitable thing today in America is a sick child. Everybody's making money. The hospitals are making money. The pharmaceutical companies are making money. Even the insurance companies make money. And we need to end those perverse incentives. We need to get the corruption out of FDA, out of NIH, out of CDC, and make them function as they're supposed to function, which is to protect public health and particularly children's health.
These aren't radical ideas. These aren't crazy positions to have. Protect children's health, protect Americans' health, get the corruption out of the FDA, the NIH, the CDC. It's not radical. But many Hollywood celebrities are up in arms. Actor Bradley Whitford, who was big on the West Wing, he's demanding that RFK Jr.'s wife, Cheryl Hines. You know Cheryl Hines? She was Larry David's wife in Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's demanding that she publicly denounce her husband for backing Trump. Okay. All right. I doubt they had this conversation beforehand, right? But he said, way to stay silent while your lunatic husband throws his support behind the adjudicated rapist who brags about stripping women of their fundamental rights. Gutsy. Great example for the kids. Profile and courage. Who are these losers? Is there anything wrong with what RFK Jr. said? See, that they'll attack him. That's what we're going to see a lot. They're going to attack him. They're not going to attack his message. His message of eliminating from our food supply seed oils and food coloring and quote unquote natural flavors and pesticides. So that way we don't have disease and cancer rates exploding in our population. They won't attack that. So they'll just call him crazy. That's what they'll do. When he says, I want to get rid of corruption and change the focus at the FDA and the NIH, they can't attack that. So they'll call him names and they'll demonize him. But luckily we've seen what makes these people cheer. So their boos mean nothing. Nothing at all. And he says he's going to be campaigning actively and that other Democrats will be joining Trump's campaign.
Campaigning actively, I think President Trump is going to make a series of announcements about other Democrats who are joining his campaign.
Other Democrats joining the campaign. Who's the next Democrat that's gonna fall? Is there a Democrat that you can think of? Shoot me a text, 615-737-9986. I couldn't pull any off the top of my head, but it wouldn't shock me because these are just common sense things, right? Like if you're even paying a little attention, you can understand what RFK Jr. is going for.
And I want to make America healthy again, and so does President Trump. So those are objectives. The Wall Street Journal may be worried about shareholder value for pharmaceutical companies, and I think I talked specifically to President Trump about that issue, and he said that he wanted to leave as his legacy healthy children, and that that he was unconcerned about the other implications.
Listen, can you not love that? Trump said as his legacy, he wants it to be that he healthy children to be his legacy, and everything else where the chips may fall, he's not concerned. He's not concerned about what Big Pharma thinks about it. He's not concerned what the medical industrial complex or Big Food thinks about it. He wants healthy kids. But the demonization's in full swing. J.D. Vance was asked about RFK and how, you can't possibly agree with him. He holds some Democrat ideas.
Right, there are things that Robert Kennedy has said that I disagree with. I'm sure there are things that he said, or that I've said, that he's going to disagree with.
Yeah. We're going to disagree, but that's big tent politics, right? And there are core ideas that we can agree on. Free speech, getting the poison out of the food supply. Those aren't controversial topics.
But I think what his endorsement represents is that Donald J. Trump's Republican Party is a big tent party. I was raised by two grandparents who are sort of classic blue dog Democrats. They believed in having a border. They believed that, you shouldn't have censorship in the United States of America. They believed in common sense economic policies. They may have disagreed with Donald Trump about tax policy, but they believed in some fundamental American values. And I think what RFK's endorsement really shows is that the Kennedy Democrats are actually more at home in the Republican Party of Donald Trump. Yep. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris's party, higher prices, doing nothing to fight back against the Chinese, to say nothing of a wide open border, that is not JFK's Democratic Party. It's not RFK's Democratic Party. We're thrilled to have the Kennedy Democrats where they belong.
And David Axelrod says RFK's father, RFK Sr., would be appalled by the endorsement. And I disagree. I think that he would be appalled by the current state of the Democrat Party. Pro-war, anti-free speech, no borders. Are you kidding? I've told my mother-in-law this for years. If JFK ran today, he would be a conservative. He would be considered alt-right. The Kennedys are exactly where they need to be. Exactly where they need to be. And then, he attacks Harris on the border, as he should. And Kristen Welker on NBC's Meet the Cess, she says, well, tariffs are going to cost consumers when they're talking about, putting tariffs on China.
Let's talk about Trump's record during his first term. He did impose rounds of tariffs, and it cost Americans nearly $80 billion in new taxes. Do you acknowledge that imposing more tariffs will ultimately cost consumers?
Well, what it really does is it penalizes importers from bringing goods outside the country into the country. And I think that's just a necessary thing. We know that China and a number of other countries are using effectively slave labor to undercut the wages of American workers. Donald Trump thinks that has to stop. And again, what Kamala Harris is saying, Kristen, is that if you do this, you're somehow going to cause skyrocketing inflation. In reality, Donald Trump already did it. He brought a lot of jobs back, and it didn't cause inflation.
No, it didn't. Actually, the ones that caused inflation are the ones that have tried to spend 4 days at the DNC reminding us that they're not in power. saying, day one we could do this, day one we can do that. Everything is Orange Man's fault. And J.D. Vance masterfully talks to Kristen Welker and puts the reality on the table of everything. And he does it with the tariffs, and he does it with the border.
Whatever the real number is, it's way too high, right? It's millions upon millions of illegal immigrants that have come in just since Kamala Harris became the border czar a few years ago.
She was put in charge of the root causes of migration.
Well, the root causes of migration, I would say, Kristen, is that Kamala Harris refuses to do her job as border czar.
Well, she was put in charge of the root causes of migration. Yeah, well, the root cause right now is that she's not doing her job as the border czar. But he says, listen, we can't fix illegal immigration until we stop the bleeding.
If you want to get control of the illegal immigration problem, you have to stop the bleeding. You have to stop so many people from coming here illegally in the first place. And that means undoing everything that Kamala Harris did practically on day one of the administration. You have to reimpose deportations. You have to stop catch and release. Stop granting asylum to every single person who comes in here and says that they need asylum, and stop granting mass parole. These policies are why we have the immigration crisis that we have.
Yep, he's absolutely right. Common sense. Can we get common sense back in the White House? November 5th can't get here soon enough. Don't forget, if the debate goes down as planned, September 10th, we are broadcasting live at the Scoreboard in Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet. We're going to watch the debate together. There's no better way to watch the debate. Brian is going to be doing his show there starting live at 3 o'clock. The rest of the crew is going to be rolling in as well. Myself, Matt Murphy, Dan Mandis. It's the debate everybody's going to be watching. We want you to watch it with us. So join us live in Mount Juliet as we return to Scoreboard Cedar Creek. Details are on the website, 997WTN.com. We hope to see you there. 11:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand in studio with Matt Murphy. So Kamala's campaign demands a seated debate with notes. Open book test is what they want for September 10th when we're going to be at Scoreboard.
Hello, Chris.
Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet. Hello.
I'm very excited that Dan Mann just got a home game for the debate watch party.
I loved the home game at the last one.
Oh, no, look, let me tell you, Cedar Creek Scoreboard. Remember the huge tree that you brought in for Christmas?
Yeah, thanks again for the trailer.
It was my pleasure. It was huge. It was a big deal. So let me try. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep this straight. So Donald Trump, Joe Biden says, come on, I'll debate you, me.
Yep.
And Donald Trump says, okay. And they make all of these rules.
And he agrees to them.
And Donald Trump says, that's fine, whatever. Just tell me when, where. And so they pick June 27th and September 10th. Those are the two debate days. And Donald Trump beats Joe Biden so badly in the first debate that candidate quits.
Yeah. It's like, this last year, it's like we're a year and 3 days removed from the mugshot.
Right.
And then we had an assassination attempt.
Oh my goodness.
We had an actual, we witnessed a murder on the debate stage.
They convicted him of some trumped up nonsense. I mean, they did that, right? So so he agrees to two debates. I'm just walking through this slowly with myself. And he beats Joe Biden, the other candidate, so badly that other candidate quits.
Yes.
And then the new person comes in and Donald Trump says, okay, well, let's you and I talk about having debates. Do you want to have debates too? And that other person says, no. You've already agreed to debate. You have to have a debate. You've agreed to the rules of the debate. You've got to have a debate. You're having a debate. And
she doesn't agree to the Fox News one during that same period.
Well, right. And Trump says, well, wait a minute. I agreed to all of those rules with the other guy. You're new. No, you have to agree. Okay, fine. Well, we can do a lot of them. You want to do Fox News? You want to do NBC? Yep. We'll do a bunch of them. Well, no, just this one. And all the while, the mainstream media is like, oh, Trump's backing out of the debates. Trump's backing out of the debate. And Trump agrees to it. And now
Harris wants to be seated with notes and opening statements. And the Trump campaign said no.
And hot mics.
Yeah.
And they want hot mics.
Oh, I'm sure. Like that.
Now, suddenly they want hot mics.
That backfired on them royally.
Oh, yeah. And they know it.
Yes.
So now they suddenly want hot mics.
Well, they want him to be talking over a woman.
Oh, no. They think, for some reason, they think that moment with the pro-Hamas protesters in the audience where she said, I'm speaking, that was a powerful moment for her. And she's done this I'm speaking garbage before.
She did it to Pence.
And for some reason, I think they want that moment.
Yep.
I don't think you guys want that moment. No. But whatever, bring it on.
They do want notes. I don't know if notes can help her.
Like, what kind of notes?
Exactly. Well, and how do you game plan for the unpredictability of Donald Trump?
Well, I suppose what they're planning on is that they'll get fed the questions by ABC, like Donna Brazile fed Hillary Clinton the questions in 2016. And
allegedly.
And so then she can just write out her answers, pre-write her answers to the questions that she knows are coming.
I guess.
I don't know. Bring it on.
I think, but the questions that are coming, they're going to be given a heads up no matter what. They're going to be ready for the questions no matter what. It's what Trump throws at them that they're not ready for.
But make your notes. Scribble.
It's hilarious.
Do some doodling.
And we get to watch it all together. Scoreboard, Cedar Creek, Mount Juliet, myself, Mandis, Murphy, Wilson, the whole squad. Are you hyped?
I'm very, very hyped for the next however many days. 70 days? I don't know how many we've got, but I'm as excited as can be. It's a big pep rally starting at noon.
All right, Matt Murphy's in next. Hot takes incoming. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.